the narrative that the British public are work shy or lazy is an incredible way to try and justify a lot of what the Tories have done. Oh, we can't increase um, funding for universal credit and allow people more funding because they're lazy. They'll just live off universal credit. It's a very deadly and subtle way of attacking the working class in this country and calling them lazy. I would never say, I would never say that the working class people in this country are in any way, shape, or form lazy. What the working class people in this country need are desperately, desperately investment in their towns and communities and to be given opportunities. That is what they need. That our government isn't going to do that because that involves spending money, and the government are anything but wanting to spend money on these type of projects and the amount that it would need to get it done. But there you go. So this again comes from the Guardian, and it's beware the Tory narrative of a work-shy public. A new and entirely predictable narrative is now emerging from the government. It started in the Sunday Times, where Boris Johnson is reporting as being surprised by the number of people not going to work. This was followed by Sir Graham Bradley stating in Parliament that employers had been employees had been too willing to stay at home, and anger at the UK lockdown for easing plans that could put workers at risk. And now we have reports of Rishi Sunak believing that the country has become too addicted to furlough, and he is looking for an exit strategy. So what exactly does the government not understand from its own advice to stay home? We have already have the highest death toll in Europe, and now we are told the policies implemented to avoid more deaths need to be lifted because the public are abusing them. With the economy in lockdown, millions are not working and are worried about the future. The last thing we need is the traditional Tory accusation that their own failures are actually the fault of the work-shy public. So it looks as though Sir Graham Bradley, the chair of the 1922 committee, has let slip the narrative that this government is going to push to deviate attention from its costly mishandling of the coronavirus crisis. Presumably, he read the podium exhorted to stay at home, protect the NHS, and stay live. Presumably, he heard his colleagues repeat this countless times, yet in the House of Commons on Monday, he said that in some instances, it may be that the public have been a little too willing to stay home. The public have stayed home as directed as a public service. Those deemed essential are risking their lives when they leave their homes to try and keep the rest of us safe. Many minimum wage essential workers have borne the brunt of austerity since the government bailed out the banks, and now it looks like as though this new narrative is going to be at those shirkers who were, quote, too willing to stay at home and have bankrupted the economy. So it is perfectly reasonable for them to pay with it with another 10 years of desperate austerity. That is the narrative that is being seems to be being pushed, and you see it already. You only have to look at the United States, where you've got conservatives banging the drum and trying to send people back home in states where the coronavirus is still there and it is still racking up numbers. It is going to be those states that reopen, and I think a couple have already done it or are thinking about doing it in the next couple of weeks. You could see disastrous effects on there. In fact, many of those people, one of the leaders of the anti-coronavirus lockdowns, ended up getting coronavirus. But yeah, and as a front on British perspective here, what they are worried about is that the public has actually turned and actually said, realize that, hang on, all these people who the government has been saying are lazy and that don't deserve a pay rise or don't deserve more rights or more holiday time or other such things that could help improve the lives of these people. Because many people in the UK, even though they are in work, are what they call working poor. Meaning that even though they are earning money, they are still unable to be able to earn a living and have to rely on food banks. I would love to see a day in this country where the last food bank closes. Not because it's unable to get donations or anything like that, but it closes its doors because it's no longer needed. Now, we used to live in that country, and I think we can do so again. But it's all about having to rebuild that social welfare net to begin with, and then we go from there upwards. We give these people opportunities. That is what it is about. It's about building opportunities for people so that they can have a decent standard of living. And that does not cost a lot. It really doesn't.